latest news and information, business, sport and weather.
Professor George Magoha, with whom I had opportunity to work with, was a distinguished public servant.
Hakuna afisa hata mmoja wa kitengo chochote cha polisi alikuwa kwa nyumba ya Matiang'i.
I have no doubt, Mr. President, that stronger cooperation will go a long way in driving the agenda.
We cannot achieve bilateral goals without the broader integrated region.
Kenya is bleeding from the impact of climate change.
For some of them, desperation during this season drives them to get involved in sexual activities to earn money.
Good evening, it's now 7 o'clock. I am Stella Mariango. On to the highlights. Family, friends, colleagues, and government officials pay glowing tribute to the late former Education Cabinet Secretary, Professor George Magoha. Graduate teachers from primary schools are to be promoted to junior secondary schools in addressing the current teacher shortage. On the global scene, Nigerian universities are to remain closed between February 22nd and March 14th in preparation for the general election. And in sports, AFC Leopards scored 6 goals against Talanta FC to move up to 5th position on the Kenyan Premier League table. Family, friends, colleagues and government officials gathered at the Consolata Shrine in Westlands, Nairobi today to pay glowing tribute to the late former Education Cabinet Secretary, Professor George Magoha. President William Ruto eulogized the late Magoha as a highly accomplished scholar and loyal public servant who gave sound leadership everywhere he worked. In a speech read on his behalf by the ICT and Digital Economic Cabinet Secretary Eliud Owalo, Dr. Ruto added that Magoha will be remembered as a humble man despite his sterling achievement in life, saying that the country has lost a hero.
We mourn the passing of a good man, a loyal servant of the Republic of Kenya, a highly accomplished scholar and a great teacher who gave sound leadership everywhere he worked. Professor George Magoha, with whom I had opportunity to work with, was a distinguished public servant, illustrious administrator, and one of Kenya's exceptional surgeons. He had extensive knowledge and expertise in the health sector and brilliantly deployed them in bettering the lives of other people.
Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu eulogizes predecessor as a good advisor and a personal friend whose work ethic, integrity and boldness moved the country's education sector forward.
He never shied away from visiting the inside of informal settlements in all parts of the country to find children who had failed to report to Form 1. He could then personally escort them to their schools before finding sponsors for their education. Professor Magoha was a visionary and a transformative leader who was always determined to move the country's education sector forward.
Magoha died on 24 January 2022 at the Nairobi Hospital after suffering a cardiac arrest. His body will be airlifted to Siaya tomorrow, where another requiem mass will be held before a burial ceremony to be held at Odera Akango University in Yala on Saturday. Graduate teachers from primary schools will be promoted to junior secondary schools as part of addressing the current shortage. The Teachers Service Commission says the move follows concerns raised by stakeholders in the education sector on the inadequacy of teachers to meet the growing demand. The Commission says it's currently receiving applications from qualified teachers before mapping out where they will be posted. Meanwhile, TSC CEO Nancy Macharia has announced that all the 30,550 newly employed teachers had reported to junior secondary schools for their first term. The CEO was addressing the press at Naivasha after meeting members of the Senate Committee on Education, which raised concern over the shortage of teachers in junior secondary schools, calling on the government to intervene. Azimio la Umoja One Kenya leader Raila Odinga has blamed legislators from the coalition for shifting their allegiance to the ruling Kenya Kwanza administration, saying they should resign. Addressing an ODM parliamentary group meeting at Maanzoni in Machakos County, Raila said Kenya Kwanza is bragging about being the majority in parliament, but this is an artificial majority as the pre-coalition agreement of the defectors still stand.
These members who have defected from Azimio coalition need to resign. So the days when members of parliament used to go and see Mtukufu Rais Nyayo Kwenda piga magoti chini kwa rais alete maendeleo, imekwisha. If you want to go and see Mr. President as a person of friend in State House, go. But if you want to go and talk about issues that affect the party, then you must give him permission by the party before you go to see the president.
A number of legislators from Azimio's affiliate parties that include Jubilee, UDM, ODM and Wiper have recently shifted towards Kenya Kwanza, vying to work with the current government to achieve their development agenda in their respective constituencies. Earlier, Lang'ata MP Felix Odiwuor alias Jalango was thrown out of the Azimio parliamentary group meeting in Machakos. Jalango claimed that Odinga's security told him to walk out shortly after the ODM leader arrived at the venue. Jalango and 7 others held a closed-door meeting with President Ruto on Tuesday. The Lang'ata MP said that he has neither regrets nor apologies for meeting the president.
I can't regret meeting the president because I'd gone there at my own capacity, and it's because he had called me for development issues. I feel bad that I can't attend the meeting when Baba is here. There's no apology about it. I went there for development. You don't apologize when you've gone and you've been called.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki has confirmed that there was no police raid on former Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i's home in Karen, Nairobi. In a statement due to Newsroom Today, Kindiki also dismissed as false claims made by leaders who spoke about the incident, claiming that the unidentified individuals were police officers. Meanwhile, legislators allied to Kenya Kwanza have laughed off a supposed plan to arrest Dr. Matiang'i on Wednesday, terming it a well-choreographed drama. The MPs were led by National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah. He told the press at Parliament buildings that the plan was intended to incite Kenyans and invoke public sympathy.
Wakenya sio wajinga, na ndio tumewaambia Wakenya wasiingie kwa haya mambo ya watu ambao wanataka uchochezi, wanajaribu kuchochea Wakenya, na tukasema hakuna afisa hata mmoja wa kitengo chochote cha polisi alikuwa kwa nyumba ya Matiang'i. Yale yalikuwa ni mambo yaliyolengwa kuwachochea Wakenya, lakini ukijua uko na hatia, wacha kuogopa.
Earlier, a bar of lawyers acting on behalf of Dr. Matiang'i filed an application seeking the High Court to hear and address allegations of imminent arrest and continued threats. Led by Danstan Omari, the lawyers say Matiang'i's fundamental rights and freedoms have been violated. The lawyers also filed for an anticipatory bail or bond pending the hearing and determination of the application.
We seek in the interim that let justice reign, in as much as probably there will be something that it's purported to have been done by Dr. Fred Matiang'i. Let him be given every civil right that is entitled to any citizen in this country.
Omari said their client was ready to be summoned to appear before any police station and record a statement, provided there are genuine charges leveled against him. Meanwhile, former Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i has been granted anticipatory bail, barring police from arresting and detaining him. High Court Judge Justice Kanye Kimondo granted the orders after Dr. Matiang'i moved to court earlier today, claiming that he is under imminent threat of arrest by the police. In documents filed in court, Matiang'i, through his lawyers, claimed that he received credible information from officers of the Kenya Police that they are under express instructions to arrest him. In granting the orders, the court said the police are at liberty to investigate Matiang'i on any crime conduct, but will not arrest him following the anticipatory bail. The former Interior Cabinet Secretary claims that yesterday his home was raided, surrounded, and cordoned off by police officers seeking to arrest him. Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kithure Kindiki has, however, stated that no police officers were sent to Matiang'i's home as claimed.
From Nairobi, Kenya, to you around the world.
The Nigerian National Universities Commission has ordered the closure of all universities between February 22nd and March 14th due to the imminent general election scheduled for February 25th. The decision follows concerns on the safety and security of staff and students during the poll. The Nigerian National University Commission comes under the Federal Ministry of Education and was given the order by Education Minister Adamu Wadamu, the local media report. there has been concern about whether the election will go ahead as planned due to ongoing insecurity in the country. However, the head of the Electoral Commission has insisted that all will go as planned. Young people make up a large proportion of those who have registered to vote in the election.
Sports news.
AFC Leopards scored 6 goals against Talanta FC to move up to 5th position on the Kenyan Premier League table, but on equal points with 6th place Tusker FC as Talanta remained 14th. Leopards, who began the match at the Nyayo National Stadium in 7th position on 22 points, netted 2 first-half goals to set them on the road to victory, before adding 4 more in the second half for the match discount 6-0 victory. It was only one of the 2 matches played today, with the second game between Posta Rangers and Wazito FC ending in a 1-all draw at the Kasarani Annex. Posta remains 11th on the table, with Wazito still hanging in 16th position above bottom-placed side Mathare United and Vihiga Bullets. Top on the table in Nzoia Sugar with 31 points, 1 point above Gor Mahia and KCB, who are 2nd and 3rd respectively.
Sports news.
And a recap of the news: family, friends, colleagues and government officials paid glowing tribute to the late former Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha. Graduate teachers from primary schools are to be promoted to junior secondary schools in addressing the current teacher shortage. And in the global scene, Nigerian universities are to remain closed between February 22nd and March 14th in preparation for the general elections. And in sports, AFC Leopards scored 6 goals against Talanta FC to move up to 5th position on the Kenyan Premier League table. You have been listening to the very latest bulletin from the Radioactive newsroom. Stay up to date by following us on Twitter at Radioactive and like our pages on Facebook, that's Radioactive. The next bulletin here on Radioactive is at 9 o'clock. Do stay tuned. I am Stella Mariango.
Your station with your choice of music, news and information.